This Might Be Risky sponsorship package is here. Have your ad run on our live streaming episodes, linked in the video description and attached to our many hot take clips. The channel is fast growing with thousands of views and subscribers. Don't miss your chance to grow your business on one of the fastest growing platforms on YouTube. Join the family today. This might be risky. Email us at thismightberisky@gmail.com if interested. Hashtag Indeed, hashtag do the right thing.
Gonna come to you every 5 minutes that some shit don't go my goddamn way. No. So the
That's
man
not what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I think we're still playing real surface level with some of this shit because the key word is suffer, and that shit is suffering is deep. We talking about like basic level traumas or daily mishaps or some bullshit like that we juggle that shit all the time.
Yeah.
But suffering, I think suffering is a big deal. In one word, I just been wanting to listen and understand all perspectives. But I heard Q's the words you used were there's something about suffering in silence that's powerful.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I beg to differ in that regard.
So, Hamp, expound on what you meant by suffering when you posed the question.
Right. Okay, then that might. Okay.
Because how I interpret it is what I was speaking to, Chief.
Okay, no, I mean, and I heard you. I'm just saying, but when I think of suffering, I feel like anybody suffering needs help. Anybody, man, woman, black, white, or indifferent. So maybe I'm playing on the word suffering because there's a bunch of shit that we deal with every day that we just, it's part of the game. Chalk it up to the game. I got fired, lost my job, whatever. My shorty cheated, whatever. I'm gonna deal with this. But when it comes to suffering, that shit is just different levels.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
I'm talking surface level.
Okay. Well then,
I think. Oh.
When you say suffering, I guess this is to Chief directly. When you say suffering, do you ever feel like it's like a being stuck, if you will? Like when you say suffering, do you kind of feel like I can't get out of this? So like in that moment.
So when I heard suffering, the only thing that really took me back to was a situation with my brother. Like at that point, I'm at the lowest of my lows, and I'm like reaching for help, but there's nobody to really. At the time, again, I'm 28, first funeral, and have nowhere to really latch onto while everybody's leaning on me. You know what I'm saying? So when I think of suffering, I'm thinking at the lowest of my lows, I couldn't do it in silence. I couldn't. So you know what I'm saying? I had to lean on somebody.
So let me ask y'all a question.
And I tried.
Panel ever been through the dark night of the soul?
What is that?
Okay. Hamp, in the Bible, because you know the Bible real well, did Jesus suffer in silence or was there people helping him on the cross?
In silence.
I thought he cried out.
Jesus?
No,
he cried out and got help?
He cried out to the Most High, and he cried out knowing he wasn't gonna get no help, but he expressed it. But even when he walked across, he never defended himself. He knew what time it was. Now when
he was crying when he was, what do you? So you're saying someone getting whipped, holding a cross, they're not crying? They're not like saying, "Ouch!"
Where did you get that from?
They're like,
and can I add in? Do you understand the night before he was praying, he asked his friends to pray for him. He did. It's in the Bible. And he also said,
I didn't even finish.
I'm just saying, but
what I'm saying is I didn't even finish saying anything. Kenny jumped in talking about when he talked to the Most High. But we're talking about in terms of like complaining, looking for somebody to help you. No, that man knew what time it was, right? And so he went through it.
But it wasn't in silence. That was the point.
So are you guys just thinking that it's just
okay?
Straight using any words at all?
No. So even if let's just say it was in silence. Let's just say it was in silence. The question is, should he have to?
This is the part that gets annoying about this.
That's the best.
People start to give these dismissive like reactions, right? When the fellas is on, we had the conversation, right? So I think it's key to try to stay in that so we can continue to learn.
So to your point, Hamp. With bringing it back to the whole Jesus thing, yes, he suffered, but the question was, should he have to suffer in silence? That's the question. Should he suffer in silence?
He had to suffer in silence to save all of us. Just like in some opinions, men have to suffer in silence for their family, and that's just a fact.
Dying for your people and suffering is two different things. Dying for your people.
It could be suffering too, because if somebody pull a gun out, I'm going to die before my family dies. Period. So I'm going to suffer.
You don't have to suffer. But I would argue the ones suffering then are the ones who's living. They just lost all you, so now they're the ones suffering.
Hey, I got a quick question for all the people who say we should suffer in silence. What are the pros of suffering in silence? What's the benefits of that?
The benefits. So I think Mary. I just want to make sure that you guys heard.
No, just give me the benefits though.
No. So when Mary was talking, no, because
no benefits.
I think it's key what she was saying though.
I don't.
Like she wasn't asking for that, but she's just saying like if her husband stays strong, right, through trauma, through situations, that's admirable, right? If he doesn't come to her with everything and he's dealing with it and he's doing the best he can and he may be suffering at a different depth than what Chief was referring to, that's admirable for a woman. That's all.
And I get that. So I think maybe for me it was just when I hear the word suffering.
So she valued the wrong traits in men. Okay, cool, got you. All right,
I
cool.
think I agree with Chief in the sense, and when he says that suffer is a very, very strong word. It is.
Okay. So I think there's levels, like obviously. So now we've established that. So I think that makes it, we got to figure out which part of suffering we're talking about.
When
I give you guys an example?
I just want to say, for example, Pam, we know he works 7 days a week. 7 days a week. Every time I turn around, he's here, he's there. He's got kids, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a brother, all of these things, right? Pam, are there not moments, or do you feel, or are you ever asked, genuinely, do you feel like you are genuinely asked, how are you feeling? And if you are asked in those moments, do you genuinely feel that you can be vulnerable, despite what the outcome may be? Not saying that it's going to change the amount of hours you have to work, right? Not saying that it's going to take anything off of your plate. But do you ever feel that you can be vulnerable in that moment? At all?
So now that you mention it, the moment doesn't come that often.
Right.
People very rarely ask. I worked 14 hours on Sunday. And when I got home at 1:00 from DJing, my wife gave me the baby.
And I think that right there is what I'm talking about, and saying you are going to do it regardless because you are masculine, you are the lead of your house. But I think even just something as simple as taking the time, know that you still going to help me with these babies, but taking the time out to just ask, yo, how are you feeling? Is your body okay? Are you tired? Did you eat? Do you have the capacity to deal with this crying baby after you work this 14-hour shift? And a lot of times, I think as women, we don't ask and we assume because they don't say anything. And I think that's where silence is powerful. Just because someone doesn't say anything, a lot of times it's the things that they don't say that are more powerful and that are more telling. And then you have situations where he's been working himself in the ground, not putting this on you, but in general, it comes out of nowhere that the man has a heart attack or his blood pressure is high or he's suicidal or he's depressed because you're suffering in silence. That's what I mean when I think about it. Like, no, it may not change the outcome of things. However, how many times do we ever take a chance in a moment to ask, yo, are you good? And genuinely mean that. Are you okay? But I don't think that happens.
Some of what you're saying, Alex, I think is like, again, teaching by example. Like as you're growing up in a certain household, you would learn how to maneuver certain situations.
But I think, yeah, I agree with that. But I'm saying is that I think Kenny had said it earlier, you can't control the household that you grew up in, but as you grow and you mature, it's up to you to go ahead and to change and make a difference. For me, and maybe it's a me thing, maybe it's evolving, but like, or maybe I'm just a considerate person. I'm going to ask you like, yo, my husband also works 7 days a week sometimes, right? There are moments where I'm like, yo, you're doing a lot. We're not doing that. You need to sit down. I'm watching you. You're not going to say anything because you're going to be Superman for everyone around. But me as your partner, I'm watching you. You need to take a break. You need to sit down. Could just be a me thing, but it happens. And I don't think anyone ever really stops to ask because men don't say anything. They just do. Because it's toxic for them to express how they're feeling or to say, I'm tired. It's not looked at as manly to say, I'm tired. You're just supposed to do it and make it happen and that's it.
So do you guys know where you're at, Alex? Like inclement weather?
I'm sorry,
do I what? You cut out a little bit, Q. Say it again.
Do you guys get snow or inclement weather where you live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your husband do all of the snow removal? Do you guys pay somebody or do you help him?
I help.
Okay. It's no like, and so for me, I have my own house. I do my own snow removal. I don't get help like that. Like, it's just normal to just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, to your point, yeah, your body gets tired, but I think there's a certain tolerance that people build up when they're used to stepping into a certain role is where I'm trying. So that's what I mean. Like, I think when you grow up a certain way, you just know how to maneuver to where something that might be overwhelming for you may not be overwhelming for him.
But I think to both of your points, though, I think Q, you got it. That's a great point. But I think to Alex's point, I think what she did was recognize that in her partner and provided a safe space for him to be like, yo, like, thank you. Like, I needed this minute. And I think that's clutch, because we will endure those little elements of suffering, but to have someone recognize that and be like, babe, take a minute. That shit is monumental for us, yo. Like, monumental, because we won't stop. We'll just keep going. But if somebody sees that and curates that moment of just peace for us, that shit makes a world of a difference, for sure.
So for you, Chief, you don't have to communicate your needs. You want a woman who just kind of looks in and assumes what she thinks you need.
No. I'm just speaking in general in regards to the situation. For me, I think I'm self-aware enough to know, like, okay, you about to burn out, bro. You need to take a minute. You know what I'm saying? And I can communicate that if need be, or I just take my minute. But I think someone catching us in the middle of that shit sometimes is big.
Yeah. But that was like your actual need, not something she is assuming that is your need.
I mean, just to communicate that, I think is clutch. But even in terms of, okay, like, let's go back to my situation, being in that moment where I wasn't sure, I didn't know it was a depression. For someone to see me and go, bro, like, I see this. This looks like it could be depression, and I'm like, shit, maybe I should look more into that. So sometimes it is good to acknowledge that observance, and it could help change.
Friend, and we out.